Live from Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News at 5 starts now.
And good evening, I'm Nick McGurk. We continue to follow breaking news tonight. A rapidly growing fire up Parley's Canyon. Nearly 8,000 homes evacuated right now because of this fire. This is serious. It is rapidly growing. We're talking about at least 3,000 acres, according to fire officials. This is up Parley's Canyon, and the smoke has been billowing for miles. Folks have seen this. In the last hour, we got a cause of this fire, caused by equipment, a Cadillac converter in poor working order, ejecting hot particles along the roadside. There have been delays along I-80. At one point, it was shut down. So many striking images from today, and we do have crews on the ground. Our Jordan Burroughs joining us. Jordan, you heard the way that I set this up. Take it from there. What do we know? What are you seeing?
Absolutely, Nick. I mean, we're right by this UDOT station, but the fire has actually been contained pretty well so far. We're going to get a zoom in here so you can see where we're at. But earlier today, if you were with us watching our cut-in around 3:45 in this afternoon, this fire is getting contained as fast as they can with local, state, and federal resources. Nick, like you mentioned, we figured out that cause. A catalytic converter causing the fire, more than 2,000 acres burning. And it could be more, could be less at this point. At my last update so far, they said it was more than 2,000 acres of burning so far up in Parley's Canyon. Traffic is still moving pretty slow. It's pretty standstill right now. It would take about 40 to 45 minutes to get through I-80 here. They have so many resources, so many flights and planes and what they can to get over this and drop any sort of retardant that they can to get over this fire. Here on I-80 up Parley's Canyon, mile marker 137. Multiple ground and air resources have been responding. We also did talk to several witnesses that were actually off. We were for our last live shot. I was asking them, you know, what did you see? What have you experienced? We actually talked to this woman from New York, another woman from Chicago. They both said this is one of the craziest fires that they've ever seen, but they also said that they're happy with the response here from Utah. So far, you know, knock on wood, the wildfire season hasn't been so bad, but this, obviously, it looks pretty brutal right now, but just a couple hours ago, the scene was so much worse up here up Parley's Canyon. Of course, Nick, like you mentioned, we'll be monitoring this throughout the evening. We'll be live again at 10 o'clock and online at abc4.com. And as any pictures and videos come in, you'll see those online as well. Reporting live on I-80, Jordan Burroughs, ABC4 News.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. That catalytic converter, just a sign of how dry it is out there. We have this information from our U.S. Senator Mitt Romney, tweeting, as this devastating fire spreads rapidly through Parley's Canyon, I encourage Utahns to stay safe, avoid the area, to allow fire personnel access. Praying for the safety of these first responders and for the residents in the area as they evacuate. This is very much a developing story. Kaylee Yardley is a public information officer for this fire. Kaylee, I don't know if you're on the phone here, but can you give us a sense of what we know right now?
Yeah, hey, this is Kaylee. You know, it's just like what you guys have said. About an hour ago, it was around 2,000 acres, I guess. They're looking at it now, about 2,500 to possibly 3,000 acres, and it's still growing rapidly. You know, we've been very fortunate that we've had the resources available to help us. You know, air resources are great. It's a great opportunity for these guys to get in here and do some work, and hopefully we'll get it stopped sooner than later.
So you have the evacuation center that's now moved to Park City High School. I imagine that's bigger than Ecker Hill Middle School where it was before. 6,000 to 8,000 homes evacuated. I mean, this is pretty serious. Jordan, though, mentioning that it doesn't seem as smoky by him. So can you help me understand what's going on?
Yeah, you know, I'm not there live on scene. However, you know, based off of the information that I've been given, you know, we want to make sure that the public's safe. Not only that, as well as our firefighters. That's a huge, you know, area. We have people right there within our area where the fire's coming. You know, firefighter safety and the public safety is number one for us. So, yeah, you know, the smoke, that sort of thing, it is definitely an impact, especially for folks that are more susceptible to, you know, to the breathing issues. And so hopefully it's like I said, I'm hoping that the air resources are doing some great work and getting it wrapped up before, you know, too long.
Yes, we have Summit Park evacuated, Pine Brook, Lambs Canyon, and Mill Creek, some 6,000 to 8,000 homes. What's your message to folks in that community, in those areas right now? I know a lot of folks don't always want to evacuate, but are these all mandatory evacuations? And what's your message to the locals there?
Yeah, honestly, it is a scary thing. I try to push the Ready Set Go program within our areas across the state. And those are just some things to prepare for evacuations. And unfortunately, you don't have a lot of time when things like this happen. But rest assured, if we get this thing wrapped up, these guys can go back in their homes sooner than later. One thing, like I said, just try to stay safe. Be aware. The officials have asked, for evacuation. So please follow and obey, what our local government officials, fire law, all of your enforcement folks. Please follow what their guidance is. If they ask you not to be in the area, please avoid it. Stay safe. And like I said, it's not only for you, it's for the firefighters as well.
Well, we're really hoping for everyone to be safe and for these homes to be safe. Kaylee Yardley, public information on the fire. We do appreciate you. We know you are incredibly busy. We were just speaking about evacuations. So many people, right? 6,000 to 8,000 homes. One of them is our own Craig Worth, one of the evacuees. Craig, we hope you're safe. Tell us what this was like today.
It was very orderly. When you see fire and you live on a mountain, you think about fire. The public information people, the sheriff, the Park City Fire Department, sent around notices, sent Twitter, sent some feeds to us, and then we got the kind of like the emergency broadcast system that said, first of all, sheriff is recommending evacuations, and then about an hour later, mandatory evacuations. It was all done orderly. Our officials, our firefighters, all the first responders, we just can't say enough good things about them. But it's really kind of scary when you get that word evacuate and you start thinking, what should I take? I took a chocolate chip cookie and my 2 dogs.
Oh.
Not in that order, the dogs first, because you think and my computer. But you think, what is it that's very important to you? And of course, it's your family. In my case, that's 2 dogs.
Well, you can't forget the chocolate chip cookies. Craig, we really appreciate your time. So
I might be out for a couple of days, so
you gotta have the dogs as well. Let's talk about whether you saw smoke. Did you smell it? I mean, how close was this to some of your neighbors? We won't go into where you live exactly, but to what extent was this fire close to you guys? I mean, how far away were they saying, hey, we just want you evacuated out of here for safety?
It definitely is close, and you see these news pictures. You and I see them every day as we do the news, where your house is here and the flames are behind it. That's where we are, and we saw that, and it's very scary. It's very compelling. The force of the fire, to see the sky turn orange, is something. And yes, I definitely saw flames. I definitely saw smoke. And then I got out and came down I-80. I'm at a family member's house in Salt Lake City, very safe. But as you drove by and saw the workers, and on this hot day, can you imagine what they were going through as they were trying to put it out? The winds kicked up. That's always a little bit scary. But again, I had the easy part. It's the first responders who today I hope are all thinking about.
An extremely rapidly moving fire. Craig, I have one more question for you. You've been in the news business for decades. You talk to people during the worst day of their lives. They say, I never thought this would happen to me. Now it's happening to you. And I heard that I had to evacuate. What do I bring? What was that like?
Well, again, today, unlike the earlier days, and you talk about all the years that I've been in TV, we didn't have those resources of the internet, of the evacuations that came in on our phones, and we received phone calls, we received emergency messages. It makes it a lot better than, I think, when we look back 20 years, 30 years ago, when you just didn't know what was happening. And then I've been watching television. You guys have done an incredible job giving the the story of what's going on. And so I think today it's a lot better for those of us who have been displaced from our homes by being able to keep in contact. I can only imagine if I was sitting here knowing 2 hours ago I saw flames behind my house. And when I say behind my house, maybe a mile behind my house, but to have seen that and then to be wondering, but today we know, and I thank the media, I thank our officials greatly.
Okay, thank you, Greg. We do thank you for your time today. I know it's been a tough day. So Craig Worth, beloved member of our team, appreciate his time after being evacuated today. We're going to move on to the weather now. Meteorologist Cesar Cornejo. And Cesar, you have been following all of this as well, obviously eyes to the sky. I guess we talk about weather, but you take it from here.
Well, Nick, right now we continue to see that this was definitely an event that everyone around the Salt Lake County area and even probably further could see. This was a picture taken in here by Eric over in Murray. Oof, look at that. You could see the pyrocumulus really forming, and it was pretty scary out there. Also got to see some of the smoke just over here in the Park City side from Park Meadows. Ooh, we got this one sent in by Sam, and you could just see how orange the sky really got. You could not see much of the sun just because of how thick the smoke was really going out there. And when we take a look currently at what's going on, 87 degrees right there, right around I-80 by this fire. We'll see that winds are still blowing at 15 miles an hour, 22-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and it is very dry. Look at that, 19% humidity. And that's the unfortunate thing that we still continue to see here. Also, high heat throughout the rest of the state. We continue to have all of those triple digits and if not upper 90s heat. And I'll have more on what we can expect to see coming up in Utah's most accurate forecast. Over to you, Nick.
Okay, thanks, Cesar. That catalytic converter, the cause of this fire, some 8,000 homes evacuated. Our Jordan Burroughs is going to be live on scene. More on the Parley's Canyon fire coming up after the break. Welcome back. We are following this breaking news, this Parley's Canyon fire, developing all afternoon with 6,000 to 8,000 homes evacuated. We know that power lines were threatened. We do have a cause. It has been so dry out there today. ABC4's Jordan Burroughs joins us now again with a live look. Jordan, you've been out there for hours. Tell us how this has evolved and what we know now.
Sure, Nick, and like you just mentioned, we do know that cause about an hour ago. Utah wildfire did tell us the cause of this was unfortunately a catalytic converter from a car. Sparks against the road started this wildfire. Thousands of acres are burning, and also, like you mentioned, thousands of homes are being evacuated. I'll step out of the frame here just to give you a better look of what we're looking at right now. The areas that have been evacuated and continue to be evacuated are Summit Park, Pine Brook, Lambs Canyon, and Mill Creek. Nick, 6,000 to 8,000 homes evacuated. They also, according to Utah Fire Info, an evacuation shelter has been moved to the Park City High School. And now the fire is estimated to be almost 3,000 acres, and of course it is still growing. Just to recap where we've been the last couple of hours, this started earlier today, in between noon to 1. Multiple ground and air resources were responding. They also have those very large air tankers, local, state, and federal resources here doing what they can to try to help out with this fire up here at Parley's Canyon. Again, Parley's Canyon up I-80. At mile marker 137. Traffic still very congested, so I would say if you do have to make your way up I-80, just don't do it. Thousands of homes have been evacuated. We do know so far there have been no injuries reported. Local, state, and federal resources are doing what they can to try to mitigate this fire. Of course, we'll be bringing you all the up-to-date info on air and online at abc4.com. Reporting live just outside of the Parley's Canyon fire, Jordan Burrows, ABC4 News.
And we continue to see some blue skies, but a little bit of haze. How long does that last? I'll have more coming up on Utah's most accurate forecast.
You're watching ABC4 News with Nick McGurk, Cesar Carnejo, and Wesley Ruff.
And welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. This is a live look. You see the smoke there on the horizon. This Parley's Canyon fire with thousands of people evacuated, a rapidly moving fire. The smoke has looked a little more dramatic throughout the day, but by no means is this going in any direction that officials say is positive. They say this is moving rapidly. They've set up an evacuation center at Park City High School. Meteorologist Cesar Cornejo joining us. Cesar, talk about the air quality. Is it bad out there or not so much?
Well, Nick, luckily so far for us here in the valley, we're not seeing that much of bad air quality. Again, it's pretty localized. Over towards the Wasatch Back, we do see air quality dropping, especially going towards Park City, as there is a more southwest flow kind of going along, so that does affect us. One thing that we'll see is we have above average heat. Once again, we do see some storms and it will continue ahead for us a little bit, but then there's smoke, but not from some of the local wildfires. It's actually, again, from the Dixie Fire, and then we'll see wet weather. This is a video that we had sent in by Jessica Lazaroff. Look at that. Oof. You could see that the plumes of smoke was really prevalent as that fire really was getting going, and you could actually see it again from the Salt Lake Valley. Our own Jason Wynn sent this one in. Pyrocumulus forming over there. Luckily, it has started to slowly dissipate as they continue to combat this fire, and you can really even barely see it now. So, of course, it would be on our left side of the screen, but right now we're seeing that conditions have somewhat calmed, but they still continue to fight this. As we continue to look at what we're expecting to see, wildfire smoke will continue to move in. Again, very hot out there, already 99, and we actually have already hit now our 21st 100-degree day in the summer. So that now ties us for the record that was set back in 1994. And we're seeing that we have smoke still continuing. And what does that mean? Well, the high pressure system will continue to move on in. And when we look at futurecast smoke, ooh, look at that. We'll see that overnight we'll continue to have more, and even into Sunday, it's not going to be great. And Monday, same thing. It's going to be a smoky and poor day out there for us. Looking at futurecast, we'll see that shower activity does continue for a part of today, and we'll even see that northerly flow still make its way in, keeping us on the dry side. Maybe a few spotty showers towards the southern Utah area, but other than that, we stay relatively dry, even going into parts of Monday until the evening time frame, where we have a cold front and system really making its way through. That's going to bring us our next storm chances. As we look at the regional forecast for today, we're expecting to see temperatures again in the upper 90s and triple digits for us. Looking at St. George's 7-day forecast, we're expecting to see some shower activity going into the next work week, really middle of the week, with some temperatures around the 90s for us. So we expect to also see that we have the Wasatch Front. We'll see some temperatures ranging around the 100s again until we start to see our own storm chances by Wednesday and Thursday. And then finally, a little bit of a cool off. So Nick, Wes, not overall terrible as we continue going out throughout the week.
Okay, so a little smoke and then some rain.
Yep.
All right, summed it up there. Wes, it is great to see you. Let's talk about sports.
Yeah, a lot going on. Real Salt Lake returns home and gets ready to take on a brand new team. And BYU holds a scrimmage this morning, but are they closer to naming a starting quarterback? We'll let you know when we come back in sports.
Time now for ABC4 News Sports with Wesley Ruff.
The BYU Cougars open the football season 3 weeks from today when they take on Arizona down in Las Vegas. Well, today the Cougars held their first scrimmage at Lavell Edwards Stadium as they continued to get ready for that opener. According to the coaches, scrimmage went pretty well. They were able to find out some of the things that they were looking for, but not at the quarterback position. All three guys trying to replace Zach Wilson, Jaron Hall, Baylor Romney, and freshman Jacob Conover had their moments today, so no one knows which one will be the starter just yet.
The quarterback picture is becoming more clear. I'm not quite ready to say what it is yet. I need to watch this film, but things are starting to become more clear each day.
We had some turnovers and things that happened today, and so some interceptions. But I think most of that was the defense making plays, and overall there's some good and bad on both sides.
The defensive players are certainly going to come away from this feeling like that they kept the offense off the scoreboard. I think through the majority of what we would call the ones and twos, the defense had the upper hand or kept the offense out of the end zone.
I saw some good things from defense, saw some really good things from offense, and away we go. It's just really good opportunities for us to learn and get better.
The Utes also had a scrimmage today. The media was not invited. Like BYU, Utah has a quarterback competition going on, and they also have a running back competition with 3 guys vying for the top spot. 2 of those guys are transfers. Chris Curry coming from LSU and TJ Pledger transferring from Oklahoma. Pledger said he chose to come to Utah because of its tradition, and he says, watch out for his explosiveness.
Tradition, running back tradition, it's no secret that, Coach Ludd and Coach McDonald, have the formula to great running backs in the Pac-12, and I had to come be a part of that. I think it's been great competition from endo to team, and I think we're just going to keep carrying that and keep pushing each other day in and day out. Explosive plays, being able to touch that ball, coming out the backfield and, take it 60, take it long ways, and I think that's what one of the biggest attributes I'm ready to show this year in the Pac-12, my ability to, take it to the house.
Real Salt Lake is finally back at the Riot tonight, taking on Austin FC after 3 straight games on the road. They were held scoreless against Houston and the LA Galaxy, but they scored 2 goals in a loss at Portland. At the halfway point of the season, RSL needs to start winning more games, especially at home. They're 2 points away from the playoff line right now, and the team knows it needs to get better results. This game against Austin is going to mean more for midfielder Nick Beasler because he'll be competing against his brother, Matt Beasler.
It would be cool to get a goal against him and against their team just for, I guess, future conversations. But like I've said before, when I get asked that question, it's going to be a cool story for when we're older and probably done playing. Stories to tell around the holidays.
This is a result-based industry, and when you look at it like that, it's easy to say that things aren't going right and there's no growth in the team. When you look at it from my angle and everything that the team has done and what's going in, we see growth. I see a team that's developing from last year. I see a team that's gone in the first 17 games of the season, has gone on the road or at home and has been very competitive, is scoring goals, which is always important, and we need to continue in that.
Yes, they do. Highlights of that one coming up tonight at 10. Also coming up tonight, Zach Wilson makes his debut in the NFL for the New York Jets, and Jordan Love, former Utah State quarterback, will play for the Packers. We'll have highlights of those games tonight at 10 o'clock.
A lot of folks excited to see how Zach Wilson performs.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, Caesar, I was just looking at Twitter here. Summit County Sheriff says residents are refusing to evacuate from this fire, hampering efforts, putting first responders in danger, saying please evacuate immediately. These are mandatory evacuations. So there's a lot going on, but we have some 8,000 homes being told to evacuate because of this fire right now.
Nick, you're exactly right. And when we have conditions that are so dry and hot, we're expecting to see that this fire still has a lot of motion going on. So evacuation will be key, especially for the first responders to help and just really control everything. But for tomorrow, we're expecting to see, again, smoke moving in due to the wildfires out west. It's going to be hot. 97, 105 in St. George will all be hot and smoky once again. And unfortunately, it doesn't really look to change until about midweek.
Okay, well, thank you, Caesar. We're going to continue to follow that fire, obviously, with weather updates from you at 10 and obviously online, Facebook and Twitter between now and then. We're going to end this newscast with a live look at the Parley's Canyon fire. Thousands evacuated. We have much more we'll tell you about tonight. Coming up, ABC4 News at 10.